So here it is. Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody is having fun. Happy Boxing Day. I have to admit, dear viewer, that I completely screwed up in the last couple of days, and in that way, I was hoping to give everybody a day off, and don't bother coming in this Tuesday. And I was going to do a best of 2017 video. I have looked at the first 4 programs, and I already can't decide what on earth to put in it. We've had so much cool stuff, and Louis, you've been one of the fantastic contributors. There's been so much cool stuff that I haven't got a clue what I'm going to put in. I thought I would just look at the videos and go, oh yeah, that's a fun 2 minutes, that's a fun minute, that's another fun minute, and put it all together and everything would be tickety-boo. But no, that wasn't to be. I just can't do it. So
yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for Gary. You've been providing lots of great information throughout the year. First of all, Merry Christmas, Feliz Natal, Joyeux Noël, Feliz Navidad. Yeah. Come on, let's be international to the people watching. No, you've been doing a great work to the small manned vehicles community. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to help you out on this task of bringing awareness of what good practices are on this crazy field that is crazy market that is being developing. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Gary.
Oh, it's very kind of you to say. It's the audience as well, and thanks, dear viewers, for your fantastic comments and stuff you've been putting in. And you're very welcome to keep sending more and ask if there's anything you'd like to see and all that sort of good stuff. In fact, I should really open the comments. I haven't opened the comments. It's very bad of me. Above me, Merry Christmas to you. Hello and
Merry Christmas.
Build, destroy, repair. Much indeed, and Matthew and about everyone. Well, if you, I can send you the link. Why don't I send the? Let's just put the live link in the chat. And if you want to join us and talk nonsense, then you're very welcome to. Why not? That all goes away afterwards. So if you want to join us, it's that link. So Louis, what has been happening in your Christmas? I hope it's been a good one in the family.
Oh, Christmas, sort of... just the usual stuff. Family, kids, presents, and the usual stuff. Good weather. Now it's a bit of rain, but it's expected for Christmas. But besides that, just my company, we did an holiday and gave everybody these days off, the week between Christmas and New Year off. So it's time that I can dedicate a bit more time to the latest and greatest of Autopilot. Just a small quad.
And what actual flight control? Actually, I have got
this one.
Another unboxing, not almost. What's the? Is it a full size Pixhawk in there, or is it a?
No, just a Pix Racer. But I have another one here that we are porting to Autopilot, and it's a very curious one. This little baby.
Oh, little white box. That could be anything.
Yeah, and has it's a Pixhawk one.
Okay.
So, but it has some curious things. So it has a stabilized inertial motion sensors. So just like the Pixhawk, only different, and has a very curious feature for all those that run companion computers that ditched the regular USB port. The regular serial port, and has an internal converter serial to USB, so you can connect this to a regular, for instance, Raspberry Pi, through a simple serial to a simple USB cable. So making every kind of connection and the wiring easier on these kinds of vehicles.
What about locking them together? Why don't they vibrate apart and stuff like that?
Yeah, you can even go out and glue this one, because this one has its own vibration control inside.
But how do you lock those conventional cables into those connectors?
Oh, come on, Gary! The usual solution for every engineering feat: a bit of glue Yes.
Yes. There we are.
Preferably,
Oh.
preferably not definitivized like that one, but some hot glue.
Yeah, exactly. Hot
No,
glue
but
is
it's
better.
the guys that did this board. They were listening to the needs of the people, and they put it a serial to USB converter inside the board. And I said, "Wow, great idea!"
Yes, I've got chum of mine is getting hold of one of the oh, well, here we are, and you're the man. I'm opening one of my Christmas presents to myself here. It's sort of like an unboxing, sort of. Oh God, I hope I don't fling them everywhere. I got myself a whole load of 868 radios because I'm going to make myself some FLAM trackers. How exciting is that? Some soldering ahead. But companion computers, there's a lot of confusion out there, and I see it a lot said about the Cube, the 2.1. People say, well, why do I need to buy the Edison version? Well, what good is that to me? Well, what is the point of these companion computers? The autopilot's already a computer. So what's all the fuss about, Louis?
Okay, so let's. There are several reasons. One of it, which is perhaps the most important, is to have a computer that can run any program and tell the flight computer to do something else. So the flight computer flies it and flies it well, and takes care of the mundane task of keeping your vehicle in the air, and the other computer does something else. And it needs to speak with the big flight computer. So you can have, for instance, an i7 CPU if your weight is not an issue, or you can have a Raspberry Pi or even a simple Arduino. And you can run any kind of program on the companion computer. The most used ones are perhaps the Raspberry Pis, the Intel ones for the PixOC one. The PixOC 2.1 were a bit off because at the time Intel was promoting heavily that small Edison board, and now they're not, and they killed the Edison. So back to Raspberry Pi. It's a known quantity, has lots of support of for software development, can run full desktop system, and if you're adventurous and have a good option, you can even have it running ArduPilot on with a Navio 2 from Emily Shield.
Well, funny enough, that's exactly what is coming my way with a friend to play around with, and he wants
Navio
to.
2?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Should be coming in the new year.
Yeah, it's a great board. It's very easy to set up. Some people complain that it has its own GPS, so that's not an issue. You can always plug extras, and you get the versatility of running, for instance, the Emily image that Emily supplies to everyone, and it's for download at the Emily site. Already has ArduPilot, ArduPlane, and ArduRover. You just go to a config file and switch between which version, so you can run all three on the same controller without reflashing. You have them every time. It has robotics operating system, ROS, running, and math proxy and something else. Mine also is running OpenCV, so we can do object detection and tracking and a few other stuff. And it's always ready to fly. I could use some other cameras, but I use a plain Raspberry Pi camera with a 3D printed case, but that's another issue. And it works great for what is worth. It does rudimentary collision avoidance and object tracking.
And
so,
that's you've added on that OpenCV stuff to it.
Yeah, and just using the plane out of out of the market boxes.
Yeah, I'm a little
And
bit nervous,
packages.
and the aircraft tuning side of it, I am a little bit nervous about this one. So the aircraft tuning side, is that normal? So tuning the
No,
aircraft
just tune the aircraft just like you do with a regular PICSOC. For all intents and purposes, it's a PICSOC.
Okay.
So it's running autopilot. That's what you need to know. If you don't want to run the extra stuff, you don't run it, and it behaves like a regular PICSOC, PICS Racer, whatever.
So they've got a shield with the sensors on that sits on top of a Raspberry Pi. So
Yeah.
although we're the right way up, sensors are on the shield. That gets plugged into the Raspberry Pi. Does any processing get on that? Is ArduPilot on that shield, or is it on?
No, it's running on the Pi. The shield is only the sensors. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And the Navio 2, which is this board, also has a co-processor for the RC inputs. So it makes it easy. So it's very similar to the PICSOC one board. And one of the complaints that people might have is, oh, it doesn't have the stabilized IMU like the regular PICSOC 2.1. Yeah, right. We've lived so many years with the foamy things. And
yeah, I know it's
a complaint.
It is. Let me quickly just say Merry Christmas and all those other good things to James who's joined us, and Victor as well. I'm very, very honoured that Victor's joined us. We might even get a song out of him. How you doing, Victor?
Oh, doing pretty good, thanks. Been very busy the last couple of days with Drone Crashmas. Have you been following that hashtag on Twitter?
Drone Crash what, sorry?
Drone Crashmas. I'll put it in the chat box.
Oh,
yeah, that's the one that Fane has been putting out the last 2 years. So I spent all day yesterday just monitoring and responding to folks on that.
I've been, and g'day James, I hope you're okay there. I must admit, I've been a little bit disappointed with the community at large. Consider yourself ticked off, community at large, because an awful lot of the flyaways and things that we're seeing are it's an 8, 9, 10-year-old child's Christmas toy, and you can imagine that wherever they are in the world, they're desperate to run outside and fly it, and it's probably blowing a gale, lashing with rain, and that never ever enters your mind when you're 7, does it? I feel very sorry. I feel very sorry for a lot of children out there.
For this Christmas,
it's not just kids. It's not just kids. Lots of there's the dad with a drone, which is sometimes more dangerous than the kids. The kids sometimes at least have the hand-eye coordination somewhat. But I mean, the top tips that I always tell people is like read the dang manual and calibrate your drone before flying. That will easily eliminate most of the problems.
Can I suggest one? Because it's one of the guys that I know here that got himself a Phantom and went to fly nearby a river, and he took off from the riverbank. Guess where he landed?
Right in the river.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those pools, rivers, lakes.
There's a couple of guys I know that fly commercially. If the job is over water or near water, they charge double for the job. And yet you see people exactly as you say. Go, I've just bought this. Let's go and take a picture of that yacht out there.
No,
it's the first time I've flown it.
And here perhaps the guys that are to blame are DJI, because DJI publishes those nice videos, and one of the latest videos that DJI posted was from the World Surfing Championship here in Portugal. So guess what? Everybody wants to go and do shooting of the surfers at the beach. Yeah, not everybody is DJI that has an unlimited supply of drones.
I suppose also, people just don't think that they can crash, or haven't thought through. I don't know. I can't speak for people like that. All I know from my experience is I couldn't, if I'd bought that sort of money of thing. I couldn't afford to lose it. I couldn't. I've been in a lot of trouble if I crashed an expensive bit of kit like that. So I would make sure that well, it makes me sound a bit
come on, Gary.
Pompous, but you know,
it's common sense.
No, it's not. It's being at least
common sense is not so common.
Right. The drones now are so commoditized and so common in the view of the general public that people take it as granted. Nobody is speaking of like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. The problem it was to get the drone flying. And these last 2 years have been crazy on evolution of the drones, at least the commercially available drones. You have the Parrots, you have the DJIs, perhaps a little less the Uniques, that all things considered fly well.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's true. It's true. Well, I feel sorry for a lot of people. Well, did anyone really stand out? Have you got a favourite yet, Victor?
Oh, well, the top ones that I was seeing was either flying into a tree or getting caught in people's hair. So, you know, the little micro drones really. I put up a little survey, and it looks like there was crashing into trees, getting in people's hairs, or flying away were like the top 3. Plenty of those. I mean, there's all over the place. And, you know, just talking about the industry, you know, not you know, they're just not putting the education out there. There's one thing is to say about the regulations, don't do this, you don't fly it, whatever. But actual instruction on how to use your drone, you know, the different things to look for, don't fly in the wind, that type of stuff, don't fly over water. No one's putting that out. You know, I did see a great video by Drone U with Paul. He did an excellent video. He's got it out there on YouTube, and I retweeted it a couple of times. But he goes over the regulations and then talks about, you know, actually working a Phantom or a Mavic. And that is what's severely lacking, that type of education. You know, rules and regulations, great, that's fine, but that's not actually teaching people how to fly safely.
Yeah, it's also a bit of our own fault, because we tend to speak in circles. So we speak to our circle of acquaintances, and we all know if you say yaw, roll, pitch, everybody knows that. And
they don't.
If you say that to a casual public, you'll have to explain it better. And it's part of our fault. And for instance, Autopilot is intending to make it easier to regular users to use the drones. It's not an easy task. The complexity that a flight controller and the flight system, all the entire system itself is very big. And it's a huge task to bring it down to human levels.
Well, they keep telling everybody, but that these are autonomous drones. They autonomously crash too.
Exactly.
I had an Inspire which was over a tree, so it thought the tree was the ground and lowered the landing gear. That's not in the booklet anywhere. You have to know your equipment.
Yeah. When you start selling drones from a supermarket shelf, you'll get that. Do you read the instructions on a pack of frozen pizza?
I actually do. But that's just
I know.
I've burnt too many.
You can end up sounding like people that really should get out more, don't you? It's like,
but as a public educator, I try to bring it down to, you know, normal levels, just something that people can understand. You know, obviously I use a little bit of humor with my drone songs, and try to educate with humor. But just getting out there and putting stuff out there goes a long ways to educating folks. So trying to do what I can do.
Fair play to you. And would it be possible to have one of your tunes later, or is it?
Oh, sure, I had any instrument with me, but I got a couple of that I didn't publish, so you could actually get an exclusive if you want.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah. We'll let you line up that exclusive song, and then we'll listen to that shortly. But yeah, education is absolutely missing from our piece, and we're not really welcoming people in. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we do. We send them to a wiki.
Well, yeah, okay, all right then. But
RTFM.
But it's not very welcoming, is it? To be told to have the rules shoved in your face and saying you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. Doesn't make us seem like a very, very friendly crowd often.
Come on, Gary. How did you learn to ride a bicycle?
Oh, I can remember that. Can't you remember? I can remember scraping down the wall of my parents' house on my arm. I can remember it very, very clearly. Yes.
Oh, drones are the same. It's just riding a bicycle, only a bit more expensive and perhaps, hopefully, with less pains than riding a bicycle.
So then, all right.
Yeah, but you're actually encouraged to learn on your own on a bicycle. On a drones, you're told, don't do this, don't do that. Well, okay, I've heard plenty of don't do's. How about the do's, And not just follow the regulations, but okay, what does the left stick do versus the right stick? The traditional stuff that we learned if you're an AMA member, people are not members in those type of clubs anymore with this new
and we've discussed here the problems of those RC clubs. RC clubs are not very welcoming to the drone crowd.
No, or even the younger generation, which is a big shame. I mean, we're losing a lot of future aviators.
The building of the plane, the cutting and sanding all the balsa wood.
Yeah. That was the fun of it.
Part of the fun.
And then the re-kitting of it within seconds. 200 hours, 2 seconds.
Yep.
That's how it was with Estes rockets back in the day. Trying out the 3-stage Saturn rockets with the parachutes and then watching it fly off.
Yeah, it does strike me as a huge opportunity missed by certain modeling associations around the world, because those youngsters they may well, okay, they've started on their Phantom or whatever, and that's a great thing, but they might then just think, oh well, what about that a model glider, or what about that large scale thing?
I'm father of teenagers, and I speak with many of their friends, and they're on the instantaneous gratification generation. They don't want to go. They just want to turn on the PlayStation or whatever and go do something.
Are you not? You're surely you're not tarring them all with the same brush.
No. But it's not. Doesn't have a like button. Doesn't have an Instagram button, and it's instant gratification. Come on, and we have to make all these. For instance, one of the most used features, I'm sure of it, of the DJI crowd is the share button on the video and the live streaming of the video from their drones for Facebook. I'm sure of it, and they do it, and that's something that attracts the kids around those small DJIs.
Whose fault is that? Is that teenager's fault, or is that I'm also the father of teenage boys, or is it my fault? Whose fault is it that they're not interacting like that?
It's a society's thing. Everybody's going.
It's society. So it's still not my fault. It's society's fault.
Yeah,
that's all right then. That's okay. Thank goodness it's not.
So
me.
it's our fault in the end, because we're promoting the instantaneous gratification, and we play along with that game.
Oh, there's plenty of fault to be thrown around. I'd rather spend my time on doing being proactive and doing what I can to educate folks, especially kids. So I'm working with K through 12 educators and whatnot.
Yeah, K-12 are easily than mine, which are a bit older than that, 18, 19. So They have different set of interests all
right
around.
now you got to catch them early. I mean,
yeah,
kind of like what, you know, I don't know about you guys, but you know, I got into aviation or bit by the bug way back when I was a kid, and I saw airplanes landing, you know, back of my house. The crop dusters. I knew I wanted to fly someday, so you know, got into model aviation and even learned how to fly manned aircraft. Was thinking of doing a career out of that, you know, but life happened, and now I'm kind of just coming full circle back into the hobby and whatnot. But getting kids interested is I think where it needs to be in the education, but we're really dropping the ball. I mean, as an industry, as a whole, and sorry to say, the regulations are not making it easy. You know,
Right,
it's not easy to get teachers to, you know, when they hear that they got Part 107 certified to just teach flying toy drones at the school, and you know, hey, they happen to be within 5 miles of an airport, and they just don't want to deal with it. So I've had teachers actually send drones back that they got in a grant and whatnot. Says, I don't want to mess with all this paperwork and red tape and all that stuff, you know, the perceived liability and whatnot. And it's sad.
No, it's something.
Schools don't want to pay for that either. I've had my 9-year-old granddaughter trying out that drone blocks, which is a block emulation where they can go, you know, go up 20 feet, go out 50.
Right.
But they even find that boring. I don't know how to get her excited in it, because it's the future, you know, for the future generations. I think the autonomy is coming left and right. They're putting LiDAR, VIDAR, everything on these, not just Google cars, but
yeah,
you know, these kids are going to have to understand it.
No, we got to start easy, and what I did with my kids, and it's still, and apparently is something that Chris Anderson from Late 3DR also did, is start with the Mindstorms. The Mindstorms are a wonderful educational tool for kids. You build your own robot, you draw the program. Okay, it doesn't fly, but you can make it fly with a different computer, but at least it's something to start, because we fight with a lot of interests that they have. They have robots, they have PlayStation, they have Xbox, they have Nintendo, all these, and they have sports, and they have girls when they get older, or boys when they get older, or two. So there's lots of interests calling them to do something. And for instance, on this branch of knowledge, I believe the Mindstorms is a great tool to start a kid doing something that they can see the physical effect. Because the main purpose of this is you have a computer that does something and has a physical effect. So if you start easy, like with the Lego Mindstorms, it's compelling to them.
Well, you're an educated Victor, so you might be able to tell us. But I suppose there's got to be an element of victory or reward, or of achievement. You know, if you set a task too hard for a child and they can't hit that goal, then they're gonna lose interest quick. Maybe there is a formula as an educator you'd know.
Well, I definitely try to keep it as simple as possible. You know, so I usually work with kids in elementary, so using the little balsa gliders, you know, and taping pieces of sticky pad papers and cutting different shapes, and they, you know, manipulate that to change the airfoil of the airplane, and seeing the direct action, you know, based upon their modification. I mean, that's instantly, you get, it's like, oh, I did something that actually changed the flight of this aircraft. You know, I did that, and it's very, very simple, you know. And then you graduate from there to something like the little mini parrot drones with a mobile device where you can control with different kind of programs that you can actually do that block programming, and then they're able to, you know, make it fly an autonomous mission based on their programming. So, you know, you start them easy, and then they get kind of hooked on that.
What age group are you working with, may I ask?
Me? Basically, 3rd, 4th, 5th graders,
Right,
some middle
okay.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, my granddaughter's 4th grade, so that's where I thought it would. She's 9.
4th grade
so
is pretty much the, you know, where I start. You know, I've done demonstrations for younger kids, but when you're actually working with, you know, stuff hands-on, it's usually 4th grade now.
I suppose where could you, so once they've got, I suppose I did for our school, they're 75 years, whatever. So I did a flight, and this kid came up to me and he said, I've said this before last year. He said to me, "Oh, that's a Phantom 3 professional. You want a Mavic? I've got a Mavic." And then this other kid comes up to me and he says, "No, you don't want it. You want to get a Spark." And I was astounded. I was astounded because they were like 10 or 12 or something like that. They completely knew what I was doing. They completely knew what was out there. And it almost speaks to your comment earlier, Louis, about how you know, how they've become easier to fly. Well, how about that for mainstreaming? Not only was I doing something you couldn't do 10 years ago, but the children around me knew as much about it and probably more than I did about it, which is it's just amazing me how mainstream it was. So where I'm taking that thought is that you're going to have some children that are completely connected with it and probably are flying their Spark or their Mavic or whatever. And you, what's this old duffer talking to me about this? I could do this. And you know, where do you take? How do you get it? How do you make it exciting for them if they've got the bit of magic kit that does the work? How do you make it exciting?
You have the drone racing crowds, and
yep, FPV.
Yeah, FPV.
Programming your drones.
Yep. Yeah, it's all the rage. You get all the injection of rush of adrenaline for flying FPV. It's one
competition.
Yeah,
competition is those kids that are really into it, you know, like building the robots and having them compete with other schools, other kids. So that's a big draw for them.
Excuse me.
Maybe.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
I was just going to say maybe that is the answer, because mine would rather play Minecraft, Roblox. When she takes one of these quadcopters up, she'll put it up in the air, see what it can see, and okay, bring it down. She's done.
I stand under correction here, and one of the others might know, but I think you can build a quad in Minecraft, and it'll do that. You need to do the physics and all that. So you could say, yeah, well, that was fun. Go off and see if you can make one in there, and she'll be right up there if she can get that to work. I know people are making calculators and all sorts of things in it. Minecraft is an amazing game for what it's got on the back of it. No, it is amazing. Sorry, I've ranted a bit there. But
no.
See if you can find it, James. I think you can. I think you can do that, and that might.
That is appropriate, and that cost me double. I bought her a laptop this year for the first time, and I had to get one that had an actual NVIDIA graphics card in it, you know, a 980 graphics card in it, which doubled the price of the stupid computer that's not going to get used appropriately, you know. Right? Am I right?
I think we all play that game.
You're right.
Yeah, we'll let's try and find a reason to make that laptop work hard. But I'm pretty sure you can. And then you can fly around in that in the worlds that she creates. Minecraft is a love-hate. I've looked around here after. I've been through that and out the other side with the older boys, and I know the next two coming up. I know what to expect. They'll be back in there again. It's an amazing thing. Victor, are you still with? Oh, maybe he's on a call or something like that. I see he's muted his microphone. So the computer seems a good start and very cheap. I love passing off a virtual SUS. Well, Matthew Gordon, stay right there, because I'm looking for volunteers. I'm looking for volunteers for something which we're amongst friends. I've not released this to the wild yet, but let's put this up, not properly anyway. I have started. Is that screen sharing, or is it just me seeing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have. There are people that sit and fly airliners. and do the routes and do all that sort of thing, and fly them all around the world and follow schedules. And I thought, and they use Xplane, and Xplane's fantastic because you can pretty much get the correct aerodynamics into the system, or pretty jolly accurate enough for people like NASA to use and things like that. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to look at drone delivery properly? And when I say properly, I mean end to end. All these little things that people are using for the last mile, that's great, but let's get the stuff in there in big packages to start with. So using Plane, you can use software in the loop to drive aeroplanes, and the aeroplanes that are scrolling past on your screens, I have created the autopilot files for, and you can fly them. And the only one that I fudged is the Beaver, which will come along in a minute, and that's a large scale model. It is, and that's what it is. It's an Xplane large scale model of a Beaver, and I'm presupposing, there it is there. I'm presupposing that can carry 20 kilos. And that's the last mile delivery. So I've been playing around with that and lost some time. So I'm beginning to look for some volunteer pilots for that. So if you'd like to come along and volunteer, I will put the link in the bottom when we're done. And basically, what I think it'll allow us to do is get people that aren't completely into Plane sort of way of thinking to get into that, and also to help with how the landings work, and also to put real weather in and see if we really could do loads of flights in. In the country that I've chosen to do it in, I can see from my office, which won't help a lot of other people, but it's Lesotho. Lesotho is the highest nation in the world. Most of it, 80,
with the short landing strips and all that.
Exactly, yeah. So you can get them into some really groovy places, places that you don't want to be landing. Well, people like Mission Aviation Fellowship do all the good stuff. They go out and they fly in some incredibly dangerous places. So it's like, well, instantly, that should be autonomous. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't. There's no need for it to be manned. So
have you, Gary, conquered the crosswinds? The shear?
Sort of, but then again, no, because yes, it'll well, you saw that, you've obviously seen that video where I have a crosswind 90 degrees to the runway,
right,
where it doesn't kick in. But Tom Pettinger, who is big time developer, big hotshot developer in the Plane world,
maintainer of plane,
yeah, he's hotshot number one, numero uno. He's looking into it, because but of course, in actual fact, that I haven't got a chart with me, but that speaks to another problem. And these are the sort of problems we can muck about with and play with, and no real aeroplanes are involved, and the only thing you need to buy is Xplane. And you can simulate away all day. And what I'm working out, so why I haven't properly bought it out yet, is because I'm working on bringing in our ADSB and FLARM traffic, and that's what these radios are for. It's because I'm going to go and equip our local gliding club with FLARM, so the real aeroplanes have it. I'm going to try and make them appear on the virtual setup as well. But so then we'll have simulated drone deliveries with real traffic and real world weather, so we get quite close. So
are you still working with the Believer on that?
No, the Believer is that's doing other work, but the Believer could have one of these. Could easily anything could have one. This FLARM is quite an interesting, because as you know, I'm not a real firm believer in ADSB. I know it exists. It's not. Right. It was just like Father Christmas, but it's a very old technology. All of this is old. But let me quickly go back to the runway thing, and then I'm going to stop ranting. So that crosswind thing, that actually the airfield it was landing at, it's got 3 runways, and they're like that good old military layout, really. So really, what should happen is the autopilot, when it comes in, I should say to it, I'd like you to land on 27, and then as it's coming in, it should say, well, actually, Gary, 27's a little bit out of limits. You'll be better off landing on 03. or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and land on a more appropriate runway. It's ridiculous that we, you know,
that's the function of a companion computer.
Of the companion computer. Yeah, I know, exactly. That's right. So and that's where people are missing the companion computer part of the piece, is that you know, your autopilot keeps it the right way up, and you've got the companion computer is the pilot, really.
So Gary, basically you're trying to start UPS, right? Unmanned parcel system.
Well, yes, actually, there is another name. No,
I believe that there must be a name conflict with some other small company called UPS, right?
Maybe, but I think if enough people got together and started flying, you could solve a lot of the problems of drone delivery and ask, is it really realistic? You know, at what point of weight is it? Because for a second, I don't believe an Amazon delivery of, I don't believe delivery of one CD or DVD, I should say now, shouldn't I? I don't believe that's realistic at all. I can't.
Would it warrant, right? Would it warrant a quadcopter flying over your house, and you have to be there to pick it up, or they have the app that confirms?
We have that already at Christmas. There's a fat guy with a white beard and a red suit that comes down your chimney. He must be using some kind of drone delivery.
Yeah, but but you've got to be realistic with it. Otherwise, we are, and here goes my ranty head again. If we're not realistic about what can be done or what could be done, and we think 10 years ahead, we are going to end up with a boatload of rules and regulations designed for these people that are never going to use them. Because oh well, that didn't really work. Oh well, never mind. We'll move on. And they're gajillionaires. And back to the education piece, we're going to ruin the education, and we're going to ruin all the other stuff for generations coming forward for a moment of greed with all this. So let's really start having some difficult conversations about it. And so, much in the way of flipping. I wanted. Maybe I will. You need to get a .io. A domain name, you need to get a Twitter account, and you need to have some sort of crowdfunder. Otherwise, you don't exist in the real world anymore. You know,
you better start with the crowdfunding stuff, because but I believe that's too realistic. The big crowdfunders are just pie in the sky, and that is not too much pie in the sky for a successful crowdfunding, Larry.
Oh,
and how many haven't come through? The
pie in the sky are the ones that are successful.
Yeah, but it's just not. Well, I've been sat for so many years watching all this nonsense. I thought, let's have a crack at some of this nonsense ourselves. Then, what can go wrong? But I do think we get a group of people could contribute back to the code bases in some ways, and just the way flying's happening, and say having thoughts about it. So I'm still working on it. I've put the link for Matthew there. I've put a link in the description there in the live chat. You can have a look. You're very welcome to join up and start flying. And I'll put the files on the bottom of somewhere. So I've got all those aircraft very roughly tuned, and they are very roughly tuned. And some of the routes, all the routes that are on that are there, and you can fly those routes if you're there. And the other great thing with the with the whole thing is it leaves that virtual airlines management thing, leaves the aircraft where it is. So you can't just say I'm going to get in and go. You have the next flight has to go from that hub and whatever, and there'll be all sorts of sort of moving around of chess pieces and stuff. I'm ranting. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. But I think it has to be talked about properly. Louis, rescue me. Stop me ranting.
Yeah, no, what you're saying makes all the sense. Running on like we were speaking before on the companion computer. You can get Raspberry Pi doing all that calculations, and even managing the schedules, and having the Raspberry Pi speaking amongst themselves via the internet and coordinating flights between all those drones. and the flight controller doing what it does good, which is to keep it upside up.
Louis, I wanted to ask you, what was your preferred aircraft for using that ArduPilot setup with the Pi?
For a plane?
Yeah.
I really like the Skywalkers.
Okay.
They're an easy plane and has some big capacity. There's a new one now, which I haven't tested, and no one around here has one, so I could have a look. That has some capabilities. It's also cheap. But the Skywalker range are perhaps the most experienced, the ones that have more flight time with companion computers and ArduPilot. It's a good, robust plane, well known, flies well. And if you want to go smaller, the Bixler is also a good plane to have it. But although the space to get all the stuff inside becomes quite tight.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing, because I wanted to start using those MLID reaches.
Yeah,
Gary, you know them, right?
Yeah,
it's the evolution. It's the evolution of the Naviu 2.
Yeah,
I have the Naviu 2 here. The reach is a fantastic idea by MLID, where they have everything in one, and also the video, which is very important. And the reach is basically this, but as an all-in-one and very well integrated package. But I would say the Skywalker range, either the wing or the regular planes, are very easy.
People need to know about these, because if you're going to do something like that, you need to be able to trigger the picture with the geostats, or geotagging it, right?
Yeah,
you can do that with the Arduino and the Pixel.
No, there are some clever devices to, for instance, for the geotagging. Some local guys here from Airborne Projects, I believe, have a geotagger, which is a trigger for the camera that also does the tagging on the SD card of the camera. So when you remove the card from the camera with the pictures are tagged. You don't have to run an extra step of then syncing the pictures with the flight logs.
Right.
That's a clever thing, and it's a very cheap trigger mechanism for connecting to an ArduPilot as an example.
I saw one now that if you're using a larger standard camera, that it connects to a hot shoe.
No, the hot shoe is different. I can explain you the hot shoe thing. The hot shoe, okay, when you press the button, the trigger of a camera, you press it electronically, you're not sure that the camera has taken the picture.
Right.
So you need to have confirmation of the picture. When does every camera tells you that the picture has been taken is when it activates the hot shoe. So the hot shoe serves as a feedback from the camera to the whatever computer is controlling that it has taken the picture.
See that? We're learning here today.
Yeah, it's common knowledge. It's not learning, please.
I know.
But
yeah, I think there is a bit of a sea change coming in the autopilot world, I think, and a thinking change as well. I'll just go back to that tagging. I see that they're suggesting that the new DJI, I can't believe it will be so, with RTK on it, isn't going to geotag any better. But anyway, that's an aside. But companion computing and I think we've got to start thinking now about one's driving and the other one's coming along to do the work, and that hasn't got into people's heads yet. I don't think
it's pilot autopilot, pilot copilot. It's
pilot
copilot.
Yeah. Well, that's just very good. We ought to. That again, that speaks to the education piece, doesn't it? And unless you're talking, you talk to like-minded people, you all know, as you said earlier about your pitch and roll, you all know what you're talking about, and that doesn't make it very clear for anyone else that's coming along.
You have a very, very good package that has been developed. It's now running on with ArduPilot. is a package that you can get running on a Raspberry Pi, NVIDIA TX board, and some other smaller computers like the Edison, which is, you have from ArduPilot one initiative which is called APSync, but you have another one from a UK guy which has the alias of Fnoop, which is Maverick, and it's fantastic. I really like what Fnoop is doing with Maverick, and the name of the package says it all. You know who Maverick was, right?
Yes.
So it has a good name for the package, and it's something that you can load on regular Raspberry Pi, connect to a Pixoc, and you're done. You can do a lot of things with that Maverick package running on Raspberry Pi, Odroid, NVIDIA TX, Intel Edison. There's a bunch of boards already supported. And one of the latest discussions we've had on that Maverick discussion board is, should we extend this to support other flight controllers, namely DJI?
DJI, you're hampered when you have DJI. You are. I can't get you can't get the same access that you have.
No. Okay. Professionally, my company, we work with both DJI and PX4 flight stacks, and we have a solution that does the autonomous inspection of wind turbine blades. As long as you know what you're doing and you access the DJI controller through their SDK, their onboard SDK is very, very good, well documented, and it works. Basically, it works. So it's a known quantity. Sometimes on PX4 we have some surprises. Sometimes on DJI we have some surprises because the behavior is not what we would like or expect, but it's a known quantity. So the flight stacks are maturing. Both DJI and PX4 and ArduPilot these flight stacks at least are maturing and exposing themselves to the outside. For instance, DJI through their SDKs, and PX4 and ArduPilot through Mavlink, but you can do a lot of stuff with the companion computers, and even DJI supports that. So I wouldn't put DJI outside this game, although they only fly quadcopters or Exas. They only fly multi-rotors.
I was in with a group that was trying to geotag the when you're hooked up to a core system, you're doing geotagging via the cores, continuously operated reference systems.
Yeah.
Over here in the States, anyway. Over on your side, you have ESA has their own system, I believe. But you have to run a Python script to re-coordinate the lat-long, etc.
Yeah. That's some technical stuff. For instance, they have a set of coordinates which is northeast down, and the other ones work on northeast up. So it's a bunch of maths that you have to be aware of how each system works and do the glue that makes both systems work in a good way. That's coding, pure and simple. And we are geeking out. Sorry, Gary.
No. I just wanted to jump in and say, and come back to that drone delivery thing. What I forgot to say was the flights are completely autonomous in it using that thing. But I've decided, and that's why I need other people to join, because I'm making unilateral decisions now, and that's wrong. That's never right.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good to have a dictator. It's good to have a
dictatorship of one. Yes, but I thought all this nonsense about VTOLs. Let's just make it a football pitch. They're everywhere. 120 meters by 80 meters or 90 meters. I can't remember now off the top of my head. Let's make the landing area a football pitch size. And then that made me think, well, how are we going to defined, because then when you look at a map of Lesotho, there's whole areas where there are buildings and people live, but they're not named anything on the map. They're absolutely not named anything. So how are we going to do that? I remembered what 3 words, and if you haven't seen what 3 words, it seems like an absolutely insane, and the only reason this is coming to mind is because you were talking about coordinate systems. It seems like an absolutely insane way of doing it until you think about it. Until you actually need, so they've divided the world up into 3 by 3 meters,
right?
There's 57
trillion. Why don't you
of
explain that so people know what 3 words is?
Well, you, if I could get my phone out, I'll go. But I could be sat at potato.elephant.banana. They've taken 3 dictionaries, and they've then divided the world up. I think, again, I stand on the correction, 57 trillion squares.
Isn't that the Google coordinates?
No, it's not.
No, it's their own 3 by 3 meter system.
It's their own.
No, but Google also started something that you can give 5 letters and gives you
could be similar, but I thought it was nuts. I know that they'd sent me lots of press releases, and I hadn't thought about it. But then, as soon as I thought, well, how am I gonna and the reason that is so, and they've been running They've been running a trial just down the road from here. They reckon 75% of the world doesn't actually have a proper address, and I wouldn't doubt it at all. And they don't for us here, and yeah, I'll put that link in the side here.
I put the link in the chat there.
Yeah.
What 3 words?
Yeah, I'll put it in the live one over here. Yeah. But yeah, if you were to try and get an ambulance to a lot of places here, they really wouldn't know where to go. And they've been down here, and our local ambulance service have now adopted. Our delivery service is called Aramax. I don't know if you have that in your part of the world, but they're delivering it. They've adopted it as the addressing standard. Mercedes-Benz are putting it in their GPS. So it's one of, you know, good technology. It should be flipping obvious once you see it. You know, it's, as soon as you see it, it's like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. So quite easily. So all right, and so what we're doing around here now for security, for our security companies, is and annoyed me that people have been making signboards up to say this is 14.7 whatever, and it was completely meaningless. It didn't have any Latin on it, didn't have any relationship to the address. There was just numbers they pulled out of the air. So now you can put up a signboard and say this is your 3 words address, or in the control center you can have the main entrance and the front and back of the house, or the main driveway entrance and front and back of the house, and that's a grid of 9 words. It ends up as a grid of 9 words, so it's all those things. I'm ranting on. The last thing I want to say about my ranting on is that because I'm using Mission Planner for anywhere in the world, you get a UTM as well. You get an altitude angel that's built into Mission Planner. And where my logical take out of this is, again, I'm ranting on about it, is so this big event that's just happened in Puerto Rico and Texas and all that, you could simulate, you could identify landing areas, you could simulate flights into them, you could do everything ahead of an event. There's no reason to wait for an event to happen to start thinking about a thing. You know, anywhere that could potentially face a big weather disaster, well, let's think about it. Let's not. It did strike me, you know, for Part 107 operators in America, you had those. You've had the big storm events, and it was quite honestly quite a shambles. A lot of what went on, and that's wrong. It should be thought about, simulated, done, and then run. Right. Stop.
You still have the communication systems problem.
Yeah.
There is not one communication systems between each emergency service. I've been in the business 28 years. You still can't talk to the sheriff's department next door.
Well, that's where you need in the UK a long time. I've forgotten the name of the system now. A long time ago, they've identified that as a problem, and basically it's a cellular, a radio stroke cellular system they've got now. But you could be in a rescue helicopter in Cornwall, which is the southwest of the UK, and you could be talking to a policeman on his bicycle right in the Hebrides now, and they have a system that allows all the emergency, I can't remember what it's called, all the emergency services can or cannot. You know, you don't. That doesn't mean you hear all the traffic all the time.
Yeah,
Right,
we have such a system here in Portugal.
Yeah,
we have such a system in Portugal which apparently always breaks down when there's large fires because it burns the communication towers. So
well,
we have a big problem with that, with the big fires in the summer.
and again, I'm gonna flip back my rant. I'm sorry, it's super rant, isn't it? So we've put
but you're right.
well, we've put a football pitch into a community, and communications is going to be an issue. So let's say we use Google Loon. They float by here quite a lot. So that's basically LTE. So we've arrived LTE internet for our delivery point. Well, that's a bit of a waste, isn't it? If we're waiting for a 20-kilo delivery or a 1 DVD, and we've given it internet and we've given it a landing area and all that, well, why don't we, instead of doing that, why don't we just make that internet available to a local school and the football pitch is nearer? You know, is bringing the technology for a delivery the important thing? Is the delivery the important thing, or is bringing technology? Go on.
Have you seen what Amazon is now doing with the local deliveries, where they do contracts, and some carriers too? They do contracts with some shops, do act as receiving points for several peoples in the area. The drone delivery has to be something like this. You have a receivable, a drone station where you get all the packages delivered there, and you have someone which will be in charge of that. So it will be like a post station for drone deliveries, and can be the post office. Why not?
Yeah, no. I agree.
They have the infrastructure.
That's why I think if a lot of people start thinking about this rather than these closed companies, because again, so if we made a system that will work well for emergencies, because then you also need that scheduling system. You need to know that you've got 8,000 kilos or whatever where, and 20 kilos or whatever there, and those systems will all be out there. But I'm just guessing that big. Of course, some companies will say we'll donate our electronic processing system to the UN or whatever, because we're a jolly nice company. But most of them will be charging for a lot of other stuff. So it'd be great.
That's my thing. Who's going to be paying for this?
Yeah. You know? So let's get ahead of the game. Let's create an open
Chinese government. The Chinese government will pay for that, because most of the deliveries will come from China, and they also produce the drones. So, and most of the time you pay zero shipment from China. So let's have them pay.
Okay, so hobby.
Are you talking about a pre-planned delivery system? In emergency events, like supply chain system?
Yeah, well, why not pre-plan it? Why not say, I think you were in the military as well, like me. We used to have exercises all the time. We used to simulate stuff all the time. Why aren't we doing that as a community? Why isn't it happening? And then you could say, all right, well, that airfield and that airfield are completely out of action, but we've identified these landing areas. They're all in play. Go right, and then how would the ground side work?
And I think every neighborhood has a soccer field. So
there you go. That was my thinking. They generally do, don't they? So why are we worrying about super duper VTOL that and do this and do the other? Go to flipping football pitch. It's there.
If the regulations allow it.
Well,
that's the thing.
In times of emergency, all bets are off, aren't they? To a large degree. I mean,
not exactly, Gary. Not exactly. All bets are
only
off.
If they put in place ahead of time. Only if they're put ahead of Christmas.
But you had systems like, even with we had the event here in Florida, but even in Texas events, people who were there were saying that, let's say, I know one particular station where the Red Cross didn't even know where to go. Okay, or how to help, and that's why you had the Cajun boat system clearing out these nursing homes and all that. That was just people doing what I think Gary's saying, pre-plan these events.
Yeah, and that's that. you know, you've got to plan for the worst and hope it never happens, and you've got to think about it, and you've got to think about these things, and we haven't simulated enough. I don't think we've done enough I wanted to be a simulator technician in the Royal Air Force, but I wasn't clever enough, so to be an air trafficker instead. So it was it's anyway. I'm ranting on. Look, and we've gone 5 minutes.
No, we're liking your rant, Gary. We're enjoying your rant because you're ranting on the right direction.
Yeah, it makes sense to a degree if the regulators can get out of their own way.
Well, in simulation, it's my rules.
Go, Gary.
It's good to be king.
Yeah,
soft dictatorship or hard dictatorship.
But that's, you know, that all of those go by the by. I would love to have a UAS test range in South Africa, not to make a huge amount of money or anything like that, but just I'd love to have some segregated airspace. It would be great fun. We could have some great fun with it, but it ain't never gonna happen.
Do you really need a test range? Do you need a corridor in upstate New York to do these things? No.
Hey, we have test ranges here in the U.S. and see how fine that's working.
Yeah, it's not working at all.
Too expensive. It's too expensive. It's way too expensive. It's way too expensive, and it's pointless. At the end of the day, you've always had military ranges. There's military ranges in the UK. Just say, oh, by the way, you can use this, because the military range is a segregated airspace that's on every chart. Every pilot knows it. It's nothing new. You've not invented anything. So just let people go into the military on a Sunday. Let them go into the military ranges and do their own thing.
Come on, Gary. You have lots of free airspace. Look at Mission Planner and zoom in on Portugal, and then you'll start crying with all the limitations we have here. Most of the country is unflyable.
That's true.
Well, but again, I just say, harken on, wind it all the way back. So what we can do in simulation is we can bring a real life UTM into it, and I'll be working with the guys at Altitude Angel to do that, and let's see if we can actually
but for the simulation, I believe there are communities that do the air traffic control for the Xplane.
There are indeed,
and you can integrate with those.
I mean, emergency operation centers, like command centers.
No, air traffic. So they run their air traffic system. So yes, we can do that. And another range, it's almost like I work from. But a good thing about Xplane is it simulates the radio range correctly as well. So if you're at low level, you won't be able to speak to people very far away. So you've got to be up at high level, or you need to have an aircraft orbiting up at high level in Lesotho to be a relay and stuff like that. So you can simulate that. You can simulate a UTM. You've got pretty close to the real weather coming in. So, you know, are those deliveries going to get through on day X, Y, and Z? Oh, there's a whole host of things I've forgotten now that you can do.
I'm just wondering what collection data they're going to come out with from the Puerto Rico event with the cell-on wings and the portable air traffic control centers that have been brought over to there. Let's see what they come back with.
Yeah.
Are they working, James?
Yeah. But AT&T has the cow up.
They do. But I worry about that thing just because of its time limitations. Google have been quietly moving Google Loon on, and as a former commercial balloon pilot, I have an interest in that, and so I've been watching what they do, and they're doing some amazing stuff in the upper atmosphere. They've always got aircraft airborne, and they've managed to keep, and they know a lot of secrets now about the upper air that NASA and the Met guys don't know about now, and they're really ahead of the game. But they're keeping stuff on station in areas pretty flipping well now, and I would lay a bet that that's performed much better than the cow. Much.
Well, we've got the best satellite system now that we've ever had. The L1C, L2, CL5. And ESA's just has, I think, by the June of 2018, they'll have another 7 up, and they'll be fully operational. Restriction-wise, that way, it's wide open.
So you're saying that's going away then? That sort of communications thing is piece is going away, and also how do you see it playing out? Just being like, well, look, we're talking over the miracle of the interwebs right now, aren't we? We're all around the world. It's not,
and you can connect.
Yeah,
you can connect with these now.
Well, this, when I first came to Africa, this would have been a booked telephone call that would have cost a fortune.
Yeah.
That would have had an operator in the background saying you've got 2 minutes left or whatever. You know, this would have been impossible, absolutely impossible.
You went to Africa very short time, because first time I went to Africa, the only way I had to call home was on a telex machine. When
I was in the Peru here, they still had the phones where you wound the handle, and then
literally rang up.
Yeah, and then they asked for the coins, and of course it was a big wooden box, and all you did was hit the side of the box because there was no meter. They just heard the coins dropping, so you just hit the side of the box. Well, apparently, so people
put a coin on a fishing line and keep doing this. Yeah, well, I put in $5.
People told me that's what you could do. I would never have done that, of course. I mean, I was told that that's what you could apparently do. We've gone on this Boxing Day. We've gone 11 minutes over. So I think probably. Well, did anyone else see anything else before we go that caught their eye in the news?
I'm sure you know one YouTuber famous for this drone stuff, which is Joshua Bardwell.
Oh yes.
And he announced that he's quitting his day job and doing YouTube full time.
Very brave.
Very brave from him. So congrats to him. That apparently he managed to make it progress on a so specific area on YouTube.
Yes, it's very brave.
And it produces very good content. Congrats to him, because he produces very good content, Joshua Bardwell.
I've just gone to a single earpiece because the dog's popped up, and I know why. It's because there's Jackal outside howling. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
There's Jackal giving it some out there. Okay. Anyone else have anything else before we cue up the song, the exclusive song?
Oh, that Chinese amphibious plane, the size of a 747.
Yes, I saw that. I love seaplanes. I love seaplanes.
We need one of those here for Portugal for the forest fires, and one for California too.
No, yeah, California.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Oregon would love to have one of those.
Well, why don't they have a piping system from that big thing called the Pacific Ocean? Going up to the top of the mountain and just spray down, for God's sakes. You get the fires every 5 years.
Oh.
They need to learn how to control burn.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. We have 80 dead people here on forest fire this summer, and it was very tragic because people died in the roads because they were trying to escape the fires. So this year it was one of the worst.
Unacceptable.
It's unacceptable to get that many people dead on forest fires.
So it's one of those things where Mother Nature just teaches us, we ain't so clever as we think we are, and lots of money needs to go into that sort of research, and let's hope the governments around the world keep funding scientific research, for that is what is required. But I won't say any more than that.
In the meantime,
we got plenty of that here at Oregon State University. Our College of Forestry, is definitely on that. And they've been pushing for controlled burns for a long time. So, yeah.
We do them here in Florida all the time. All the time. You got so much marshland out in the middle of Florida that you have to.
Yeah, but you got the environmentalists that are, trying to protect everything, and in doing so created just a very dangerous.
We're dancing around dangerous ground. It sounds like it's time for a song for me.
I have enough to get into the forest fire songs.
Yes, time to start writing quick. What have you got for us then, Victor? What song have you lined up?
Well, let's see. I got a choice. You guys tell me. Let's see. I have one, deck the drones with registration, or the FAA is watching you now, or I got a drone on Christmas Day. Take your pick.
Well, chat. I know which one I want to go for. I got a drone for Christmas Day, or
okay.
however that was. It's topical. What's the others thing?
Let's go with that.
Okay, we'll go with that one.
With the soft censorship of Gary.
Yeah, that was very good for my dictation, wasn't it?
So this is live, first time. No one else has heard it, and you guys are hearing it for the very first time. And so bear with me. It might not be perfect because I haven't recorded or anything here. But anyways, here goes. No music other than my voice. So this is sung to the tune of "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen." Let's see if I get the right tune. I got a drone on Christmas Day, so I went out to fly. But then an angry neighbor said, "Oh, you must be a spy." I told them, "No, I only want to fly my drone outside. I just want to fly my drone up in the sky." That is no lie. I just want to fly my drone up in the sky. I just want to fly my drone outside. I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a spy. I want to fly my drone and fly my drone outside. And flying drones should never be a crime. The FAA says to register, but that doesn't really bad drone pilots deter. I think it's better to educate and show new pilots just how to behave. I lost my drone on Christmas Day when I went out to fly. It lifted up and flew away, and I began to cry. Oh, why did I not take the time to learn just how to fly? I'm so glad I registered myself online. Am I losing my mind? I just hope it helps somehow my drone to find. There you go.
Says it all.
Very good.
Says it all. I think I might chop that out of this video and put it online quickly. That's very good. No,
thank you.
Yeah, I covered a bunch of stuff: registration, flying safely, you name it.
Darn neighbors.
Darn neighbors, spy.
Yeah,
there's quite a bit in just a little simple song right there. So there you go.
It is, and it's a lot to think about. Well, thanks very much for joining us and singing that, and thanks very much for the education work that you do, and it is what's needed. And as a community, we do need to step up. I firmly believe we do need to step up to the plate a little bit more and not be quite as aggressive with new people coming along and help them along rather than tell them off. But not in my simulated world. I will tell you off in that because it's my game, my ball, my bat. So thanks for that, and thanks, James, as well. Matthew wants to have a chat with you, James, so I'll let you sort that out and offline afterwards. I'm not quite sure how that chat disappears. And Louis, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
So with that, go on, go ahead, Louis.
By the way, I already have my joystick for the flight simulator.
Good. I will assign your call signs and select. I think Sahong Hong is. If anyone wants to join up now, you'll be pilots flying out of Sahong Hong. So you might want to FX Fox X-ray Sierra Kilo. You might want to bone up on that and get the charts ready and look at that. What nonsense. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing everybody next year. Same time, 2100 GMT. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a safe and happy New Year. And everyone that's traveling or going or doing whatever for New Year's, be safe and have a lovely time. See you all next year. Cheers.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Harry.
Thanks, Harry. Happy New Year, guys.